Hi and welcome back to Danno Does. In this video, we're going to be going over how to roast a chicken. As always, we will go over all the ingredients needed for the recipe before we start cooking. If you haven't already, please like and share this video. And remember, I want you to like, subscribe, and try. A wet brine uses osmosis to carry the liquid and water from the outside of the bird into the bird, which will help with the flavoring. Because of that, you want your chicken broth to not be low sodium and not be unsalted, all right? So you gotta make sure you have just regular, normal chicken broth. I'm gonna use 1 gallon of chicken broth, 1 tablespoon of garlic salt, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, and 1/4 cup of salt. I also like to put a little pepper in there because I just like things with pepper. Salt always needs a partner. So I put in a tablespoon of pepper in it as well. And then we finish it off by putting in 1 gallon of ice cold water with some ice in it. All right, so very cold water with ice in it. And then we sit it in the fridge or a cold place in the house for 18 hours. All right, like I said, we're gonna put it in the fridge for about 18 hours. At this time, if you've been freezing your chicken, you take your chicken and you throw it on the sink to let it defrost. I have a 4.5 pound chicken, so the defrosting time of the chicken and the time of my cold, wet brine in the fridge kind of line up pretty well. So we'll do that. After 18 hours, we'll pat down the chicken and we'll soak it into the wet brine. See you then. To help ensure we don't dry out the chicken, we're going to prepare the butter. So all we're doing is taking a 1/4 cup of butter, breaking it in a little bit. We're gonna take a little bit of olive oil, about 1 teaspoon's worth. Put it in, continue to mash up the butter. While this is going on, we already took the chicken out of the brine. We dried it off. We're letting it do a little air drying as we continue to prepare the butter. We're gonna take a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper to give it a little bit of flavor. Continue to break up the stick of butter. We are also going to take minced garlic, about 3 cloves worth. I really like garlic, so I use 3 cloves worth. If you want to use less, that's fine too. This is just to give it a little more flavor to it. And put it on there. If you have fresh parsley, that's great. If not, you can just use the store-bought stuff. A tablespoon or more is fine, depending on how much you like it. Again, that's more so for the flavor than to prevent it drying out of the bird. After you got it mixed in a little bit, broken into pieces, we're going to take a lemon. We're going to get the zest of the lemon in with this, with our butter. I'm only gonna use 1 lemon because I have a small chicken. My chicken's about 4 pounds, so because of that, I'm just gonna get a little bit of zest. Then once I'm confident, I feel comfortable with the amount I have, and again, it's your preference. This is gonna make it smell really good, which it smells phenomenal right now. I'm gonna take that lemon, cut it in half, and make sure I get the juices from the lemon to help support this butter. Oh, this smells amazing right now. So we get a whole lemon's worth of juice after we got that zest. Squeeze it in there, make sure there's no seeds, and continue to work that butter, mixing it, bashing it, switching around. Get 1 last teaspoon's worth of olive oil, just a little bit. It's gonna help prevent burning. It's gonna keep that skin nice and crisp. So as we continue to work this, make sure it's all nice and mixed in with itself, and they're gonna work it into a ball. All right, now we have our chicken. We did the wet brine, we took it out, we dried it off a little bit, we got it up to about room temperature. Now what we want to do is season the inside, then take that amazing smelling butter that we made, and we're going to smother it all over the place. So take a little bit of salt, get it in that crust, a little bit of pepper, again, working on the inside. I like to use onion powder, so I'm going to get a little bit of that in here, right through the cavity. And then what I'm going to do, take an onion, because of how small this chicken is, I'm only using 1/4 of an onion, but hey, if you have a bigger chicken and a smaller onion, you can use however many you want. I'm gonna break it up. I'm gonna put half of this quarter, so 1/8 of an onion inside one way. I'm gonna take the other part, I'm gonna throw it in through the neck. Just get it nice and in there. Now what I like to do to kind of complement the poultry, I take that lemon that we had before, and I put that in the cavity. Then I take the other part of the onion, the other half, and I tuck it in the neck side. However I can get it in there, I'm happy with. So it doesn't have to be all the way in, but I try to get it as in as best I can. Also, I take bay leaves, I put it in there. It will help with the aroma. It makes the room smell unbelievable. So I do that. Again, I put it in the rear cavity, and I'll take it and I'll put it in the neck area where I can find some room. The lemon took up a lot of the room because of how small this is, so I'm going to take the other bay leaf and I'll put it in the rear of the cavity as well. So right now it's pretty good. It looks really good, and a lot of people would be willing to call it quits right now. But we're going to take that butter we made before, we make it into a little ball. We're going to get ready to put it underneath the skin and work it throughout the bird. So what we want to do, I took the butter, I got on my hands a little bit, I get it under the flap of the skin, and I just slowly separate the skin from the meat. I'm very careful about this. I do not want to create any holes or damage it at all. So I just find a way to get my finger in. I slowly work it. Pushes back a little bit. Let's work it up as far as best I can, because this is where I'm going to want the majority of my butter to go, right in this cavity here. I can take it to the side. I can try to get down to the legs. I'm not a big fan of it because that's where the dark meat is, so it's not needed as much. But I want to work it right up top. Work it so that the chicken breast is going to be smothered in butter shortly. Also, with bigger birds, when you do it with the turkey especially, you want to check out the neck side because you might need to get it in there. This is pretty tight. As you can see, I'm having a little difficulty getting my finger in underneath that skin. But I did pretty good on the other side. You saw that air bubble? I did pretty good on that other side, so I'm confident we can take this ball of butter that we've made and we can work it through the bird. If you notice, I'm not wearing my black gloves that I normally wear because I like to get my skin actually on the butter. I feel it helps me out a lot with being able to move it on the bird underneath the skin. So I kind of break it into smaller balls, and I get it in here, and then I work it down. I just rotate it all over the place as best I can. When it melts in the oven, it's okay. It's gonna move throughout the entire area, so I don't need to worry about it getting all over the place. I know it's gonna get there when it melts. Speaking of the oven, right now I have it at 400 degrees, preheating. So right when I'm done with this, if I want, I can pop it in the oven right away. Or if you wanna do this as a prep, you can do that, put it in the fridge and let it sit for up to 24 hours in there. It's a great way if you want to split this up over a few days. If you want to do this as a Sunday night dinner, you have time to prep it in the morning. You can do that, put it in the fridge, wait till later in that day, take it out, let it get to room temperature while the oven is preheating, and then you'll be good to go. So I really like the way it looks on this side. Like I said, I think I have a decent amount already up here in the breast. I know it's going to melt and kind of disperse itself. So I'm going to take the remainder of my ball of butter, which kind of broken up because it's been sitting in my hot hand. But what I can do now, I'm going to layer it on the outside. This will ensure that I have a nice crisp skin, which I personally really enjoy. It will help prevent this bird from drying out, and it's going to leave an amazing smell. Great aroma in the apartment, so I can enjoy that too. So I'm just pocketing it. I'm getting it all over there. If you want, you can flip the bird and get it on the backside, right? We can get a little of the butter over here. I'm not too gung-ho about anything involving the wings because I rip them off to help with the gravy that I make that I serve with this. But some people are really big on the wings. That's why you'll see a lot of people talk about tucking them in and all sorts of jazz. I'm not too concerned with it, so I'm gonna leave them be. I'll bring them in a little bit, but I'm not tying them down. I'm not doing anything wild like that. So I get a little more butter in here in the crevice. Continue to work. There's a little bit of a split, a natural split over here. So I really want to make sure I cover down on that. And any areas where you see there's a potential spot of rips or tears, always a good idea to go over it with olive oil. That will help prevent burning. So I'm feeling really good with the way the bird looks. I know it looks kind of over buttered, but hey, too much butter never hurts. Or maybe it does, I don't know. All right, so it's looking good. My oven is ready. I'm gonna take this last remaining of the butter and I'm actually gonna put it in on the next side. Get it really tucked in there. Ensure I get my butter throughout. Then my final thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one garlic. Yes, again, I love garlic comes in. And I put it in the rear crevice. I'm gonna put this on my baking sheet because I don't have a cooking pan. If you have a cooking pan, it's better to use that. I'm just gonna put it on a baking sheet, throw it in the oven at 400 degrees for 1 hour. Then we'll pull it out. We'll see how it looks. See you then. All right, it's been over 60 minutes, about 63 minutes total. Pulled the bird out of the oven. And as you can see, we took the temperature. We took our meat thermometer. We put it in where the drum and the lower part of the breast meet up on the chicken. It's above 165 degrees Fahrenheit, so that means it's fully cooked. Now what we want to do is we want to let the meat set for however long we cooked it. Now, since I have plenty of time for this, letting it sit for 63 minutes is no problem for me. It will allow all the juices to fully go back into the meat, making it more tasteful and less dry. However, if you're a little pressed for time, you might not have all that time to do something like that. So at a minimum, you want to let it sit for about 15 minutes before you start carving it. Now quit looking and get cooking.